show you what I get up to in my sketchbook journal. It is pretty easy once you get to know your tools. And like with all tools, they consist of components. So your dip pen basically has a handle and a dip pen nib. This is the part you dip into your ink. And of course, you'll need a little bit of ink. And that way, you can join me and draw up some of your own sunflowers. Sunflowers always make me smile and remind me of my mum. So, I'll take you on this little quick journey where you can see how I do dip pen inking. I'm going to work in my sketchbook again today. I want to read one of the quotes for you. And you know what? I've seen this with so many other sketchbooks before. So let me just address this before I move on. If you have a page that is coming loose, it's because of the type of binding. Now we can complain about it and I'll gladly exchange your book for you, but there is an easy solution, because obviously you can't send me the book with all your art in. So let's see how we can fix this. This is not a long-term solution, but at least it won't irritate you as much. So just a little bit of clear tape, well, preferably a piece that's not dirty, will do the trick to secure that for now. That way, preventing more of the pages from loosening up and coming apart. So as you've guessed, I'm still totally intrigued with sunflowers, and today I want to do it a little bit differently. So I'm going to make a few golden yellow paint blobs, more or less where I want to paint the sunflowers, and then I'll go over it with my ink once the paint has dried. And I'm using a simple yellow cake from my watercolor palette. I do have several palettes, and I think this one is from my student grade set, only because it was readily available on my table. I didn't select it for a specific reason, except for the fact that it was yellow. Okay, so you can move on, draw your own yellow flowers. So these are other ongoing projects I'm busy with, and here is the quote I want to read. It's up to every artist at heart to fill their sketchbook pages with everything they admire or want to experience again. So there's some secret projects behind this page that I cannot show you right now. That includes that one. But we can start a new section where I'll show you how I paint the sunflowers and then ink them after the color is put down. So I'll just make my sunflower marks from the outside inwards, and this is just a playful way to create those sunflowers, and you can have layers of petals. And I'm using a pointed round, number 12. Mine broke, and I find with the watercolor that it's actually quite convenient. All right, so we'll just go around, and I'm not going to fiddle with the center just yet. I'll add those details when I get to Make sure you don't make wobbly points like that. I'd like to stick to the pointy petals, and then this one will have longer back petals as we see them from the front, and then shorter petals as the inside circle shows more and the petals show less, because the petal is actually tilted this way, so you are looking at it from an angle. We can create a third small one. Let's move the camera a little bit so we can get another angle. And I want this one to show that way. So I'm going to do a half a sunflower, and I'll show you why in a second. So I'm quickly going to dry this off and catch up with you in a few seconds. And I'm back. So I didn't want to put too much emphasis on color for this, because I'm going to use the ink in two different ways. So first, and I already have my favorite nib in here. So first off, we'll draw the outer details. That will include the cup that holds the sunflower, and then the stem. And you can make it as detailed as you like. And I'm going to add a wild leaf here. It's going to be over exaggerated and dramatic, to say the least, and add a little bit of veins on that leaf as well. Now I need you to stay to the end to see what happens to these odd leaves when I add something special to the mix. For this one, all you're going to see is that stem coming in from behind, and again a nice juicy leaf, but I didn't want it to look like the other one, so we are literally drawing out a little wild version of that leaf. And of course for this one, this head, like I said, is tilted forward a little bit, so let's pretend that that stem is falling behind like that. This one has a stem coming out from here, and that one of course will travel all the way from the back and just connect to the earth from up there. We can even add an additional leaf. Give it some character and a little bit of anything you like. Shape, movement, odd leaf textures. I am doing something really quickly here, and let me get you closer so we can take a look at how I'm going to shape those sunflowers. Right, so for this one, I'm going to exaggerate that flare of the spread out petals, and also not going to fill in every petal, but suggest the petals instead. That way we can focus on the color and the line work as two individual elements coming together. If we overwork that and add too many details, will actually detract from what it's supposed to look like. For the center one, I want a smaller center, and we're just going to make jagged lines to represent that inner area, and then some wiggly jiggly marks, random of course, to represent the seed pods. So I want some dark areas down here, and then bring in those layers and layers of petals again, and freely drawing them without thinking or placing them properly. Cascade them around that center and create interesting triangular petal shapes that won't draw the eye away, but instead guide the eye as to what they are. Alright, and then for the last one, let's get a little bit closer. And I have my pot of ink right above my workspace so I don't bump it over when it's lying in my way on the side. So I have freedom of movement across my table, and then the ink is just in front of me. Now this one, because it's tilted at an angle, I want more of the center to show. And again, we are not making exact same shapes. We are creating jagged seed pods because we are sketching this out. We are not making precision drawings. We are using our dip pens to be expressive, and then radiating out our petals just like before from that center area. And the more layers of petals you want to add, the more you can incorporate. I'm adding a few petals to suggest those elements moving around that center. And I want to have this real loose looking sunflowers that seems like they appeared on the page effortless. And then the interesting part that makes today's video a little bit different than all the other videos. I'll grab my number 12 pointed round again and dip the point into water and just irritate the ink a little bit. Not painting or adding anything, but touching those lines with the brush. Because this is water soluble ink, it's not a permanent ink, the ink will dissolve and give us these beautiful results. Quite different, isn't it? So I'll let that dry and then take a few photos to show you what the end result looks like.